This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of No Waco. This is your host, Debbie. Well, I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Absolutely.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for having me. This is a great opportunity.
I'm so glad. Yay.
Yeah.
Have you ever listened to the show before?
I have.
Okay,
yes. Perfect. I've gone through Rogue Media's catalog and tried to listen to as many of the podcasts as possible because, there's so many different viewpoints that are provided that way. And it shows you, I think, and probably in a way that I think is important to you too, the diversity of the city.
I was going to say, that's my favorite part.
Like you get to see so many different parts of our city through these podcasts. And so Rogue Media has a great library. So if you haven't... We're
going to take that clip if you win, and we're going to play it on every episode.
Right. Yes, please do. You'll have a great library. Go back and listen. Even the podcasts that aren't currently running, I've gone back and listened to a couple of the older ones. Yes, listen to your show, listen to some of the other ones.
Amazing.
Because it does give us some insight into our city. So, yeah.
Yeah, my podcast is one of our longest running podcasts. I was one of the original 10.
Really?
So my show, we just celebrated 4 years. We just hit 200 episodes.
Wow.
So we have been going for quite a while.
That is a long time.
We're obviously on our 4th location as well, here on the 21st floor of the Alico building.
Right.
So you know how that goes when
Correct.
growth and expansion. And now we have a full team, and it's beautiful to get to see it. My show obviously focuses on hyper-local.
Sure.
All things No Waco. And then I actually work with Act Locally Waco as well.
Okay.
So
Wonderful.
I will actually be writing a blog this weekend that will go out in the whole enchilada as well about you guys.
Wonderful.
So that'll be going out in tomorrow's newsletter.
That's great
for Act Locally
coverage.
Waco.
And how do you get the newsletter for Act
So
Locally
you go to
Waco?
actlocallywaco.org and you go and subscribe to our newsletter, or you can check it out on our Facebook page because we post a link every Friday.
I do follow the Act Locally Facebook page.
So that's me. I do Act Locally. I call it the nonprofit arm of No Waco.
Right.
Act Locally was obviously founded before No Waco, and so I kind of just trying to make sure we put it all together.
Make sure everybody's doing. Yeah.
Making sure all of the things we do all goes together.
Right.
But again, we are hyper local. We try to talk about everything going on in the city.
Awesome.
Movers, shakers, anybody doing anything. That's
Wonderful.
what I usually try to say.
Correct.
Are there any key things you want to talk about? Is there any key facts?
So one of the things I think campaigning for mayor now, and 2 years ago, I was the Democratic nominee for district attorney here in McLennan County. One thing that people always ask is, why on earth would you want to get involved in politics?
Yeah.
You watch 15 minutes of cable news at night, and it's enough to make you want to throw up. Just a
little bit.
So it's a common question about why even do this in the first place?
That's literally going to be the first question. Yeah.
And so it's, I started my career as a prosecutor in Houston. I was a graduate of Baylor University.
Wow.
I have degrees in political science and Slavic and Eastern European studies.
You're a Czechoslovakian?
So I wanted to go write constitutions for former Soviet bloc countries.
Interesting.
This was 2001 when I got to Baylor. And so, the Soviet Union hadn't been gone that long at that point. And so it was still fresh in everybody's mind. And I was thinking, these people are going to need founding fathers of their own. Let me do that. So I focused on political science and Slavic studies. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I need to go to law school on the East Coast, because that's where this kind of stuff gets done. So I went to law school at New York Law School in Lower Manhattan, a couple blocks from the courthouse. And while I was there, I got to work with the Legal Aid Society.
Wow.
And in New York, as a third-year law school student, you can get your bar card, so you can actually practice with the supervision of another lawyer. So I got involved with this program working with the Legal Aid Society. Wow. I got my third-year bar card, and we went and represented people who could not afford attorneys in New York City courts.
I love that.
As a law school student. And I thought, to heck with writing constitutions.
I want to do law.
I want to be in a courtroom.
Yeah.
Like that's what I want to do. And so I moved back to Houston after law school. Worked at the DA's office there for a while. Did some private practice work there as well, and then moved to Waco.
Amazing.
Moved back to Waco in 2014 to work at the DA's office here. And so I became chief felony prosecutor for the 19th District Court here in McLennan County. And after the last election, as happens with elections, administrations change, people's jobs go away. I was no longer a prosecutor. And so I do private practice work now.
Wow.
Personal injury, criminal defense, things like that. But I wasn't feeling like I was helping people in the same way that I was before.
Yeah.
And so running for mayor is an opportunity for me to go out and use the skills that I've acquired through my career to advocate, which is what an attorney is. Mm-hmm. He's an advocate. So go out and advocate for the citizen on city council. Be a voice for the people you represent. And so the opportunity presented itself when Dylan said that he wasn't running again. Mm-hmm. I thought, this is a great opportunity, and so I jumped in the race. So I do this because I feel called to serve the community that I live in. I don't think we should wait for somebody else to solve the problem. If you see an issue,
do it.
Right, work to get it done. And so that's what I've done. And so this for me is another opportunity for me to give back to the community, to serve the community that has, over the last 10 years, and then prior to that when I was at Baylor, has provided me with so much. Really made me, the person I am. And so that's why I do it. That's why I got. So when somebody asks, why are you involved? That's it.
Why you do it.
That's it. That's the long meandering story to why.
Yeah. And how long have you been in Waco now?
So I moved to Waco first in 2001 to start at Baylor. I moved to New York in 2004, and then moved back to Waco in 2014.
Wow.
So total, I've been here 15 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
And so the last 10 years have been right here. This is home.
Right here, right now.
Oh, yeah, this is home.
Well, we're so glad you're here. What has it been like seeing that kind of economic shift, seeing Waco's development? What has that been like through your eyes?
It's actually, I had this really unique perspective because I was here in 2001. Mm-hmm. And for, obviously those people who have lived here all their lives, Waco of 2001, when I first moved here, is nothing like the Waco we have now. And so I've seen that transformation even as someone who left and then 10 years later came back and thought, wow, just in that 10-year period from 2004 to 2014, there was so much growth. When I was at Baylor, the thought of going out to the movie theater, the Regal Cinema out on 84 going towards McGregor, mm-hmm. that was, we might as well be driving to New Mexico.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, to us, it was the same distance.
Jaunt,
it was, right. Now, it's like, no, it's just, it's just a suburb. It's not far away at all. I live out there. And so it's just, the growth has been incredible. What always concerns me in a situation like that is that the growth outpaces what the market demands.
And now for a word from our sponsors. Hey, I'm Blair.
And I'm Brittany. And we're the host of By the Cover Podcast. We cover everything from mysteries, thrillers, romance, chick lit, and even some smut.
Don't forget the smut.
Yeah.
We're so excited to get this thing going and share this with you guys. We've been talking about this for months, and it's finally happening.
Yes.
Special shout out to Rogue Media for helping us with this.
For sure. You can find us on Instagram at bythecover_podcast.
You can also find us on Facebook and TikTok, so don't forget to give us a follow on those two also.
We are so excited to dive into some of our favorite books and share those with you.
We can't wait. Hope you love it.
Hey y'all, I'm April.
Hi, I'm Caroline.
And we have a new podcast for you. What's it called, Caroline?
Bloody Happy Hour.
It's going to be your new favorite guilty pleasure. We're going to talk about some bloody stuff. Serial killers, true crime, rapists. Why not join us? We'll have a good time.
You literally never know. I don't know what I'm going to say. Bloody Happy Hour. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
And now, back to the episode.
You know, I'm real concerned about some of our East Waco neighborhoods, our South Waco neighborhoods, these kind of richly historic minority neighborhoods. As I've said on the campaign trail, gentrification is real, and it's coming to a neighborhood near you. I mean, it's happening.
Yeah.
And so my fear is, with respect to development, there's been too much focus on downtown development. I want downtown to be a thriving, bustling city center as well. I think that benefits everybody. But we've got to make sure that the impact, the economic impact that a bustling downtown has on these neighborhoods that touch downtown, property taxes are going to go through the roof over in East Waco, but people's wages aren't changing. You know, they're not keeping up with what's going to be a huge property tax increase as development down here goes on. And so I'm real concerned about what development means for those neighborhoods. And I'm afraid that our current council has taken a if you build it, they will come type attitude to downtown development. There's absolutely things we need. We should absolutely update our convention center. These are, you know, the hotel attached to we have to be able to attract things like that. I don't think we need a minor league baseball stadium downtown. I would love a state-of-the-art performing arts center built on the river.
Coming soon.
I think that's, you know, wonderful. But my concern is, are we prioritizing that over affordable housing? And so that's my concern. I want to make sure that the economic development that we do is, one, what the market's demanding, but two, it takes into consideration the impact on the lives it's, you know, going to affect. So, and, you know, most politicians maybe wouldn't say, I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
I don't know how you protect those neighborhoods in East Waco. I don't know if it's some type of property tax moratorium, you know, their property tax is frozen for the next 10 years. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. But I feel like we have to be asking those questions. And if we're not asking the questions, then, you know, I feel like the game's already lost. And so that's one of the things I've talked about too, is I want to make sure that our history is preserved. Waco history is incredibly rich. I serve on the Historic Landmark and Preservation Commission for the city of Waco right now. I'm the chairperson. And through that process, I've learned so much about Waco history, but it's also given me this opportunity to make a real difference, to preserve Waco history. We just voted a few weeks ago on the Kessner building on Elm Avenue, making that, our committee recommended that become a Waco Historic Monument or
right
site.
over there on Rappaport.
Right. And City Council approved, so that's fantastic. We just sent our letter of support for one of the buildings on the Paul Quinn College to be added to the National Register of Historic Markers. The first thing I'll tell you we did, though, I don't know if you know this, the city of Waco has 2 historic markers from the Texas Historic Commission. We have one over in front of City Hall, and then one over by the Texas Ranger Museum. We're working to replace the one in front of City Hall right now because it highlights the 5 Confederate generals that are from Waco. And I'm thinking, you know,
what can we do?
We're so much more than the 5 Confederate generals from Waco. And so the first order of business we took on was we're petitioning the Texas Historic Commission to rewrite that marker. And we've submitted, 50 different
50
names and events that are more worthy of, of recognition than the 5 Confederate generals. Yeah. So I love Waco history. And so being able to serve on a commission like that has been an opportunity that's been so fascinating and so eye-opening.
Especially when we're celebrating Waco's 175.
Correct.
What's a better year to do it?
Correct. It's and what's interesting about it is the passion that I will say, this is the 2nd City of Waco board I've served on, and one thing you find, and you probably see this too in the creative community, is when you get people that are passionate about the same thing together in a room, it's magical in a way, you know? And so when we're all there at the historic committee, we're all people who are nerds about history stuff. And so we love it. You know, we get off on tangents. It was the same thing when I was at the animal welfare board. You know, we loved all being there, and we were all passionate about saving animals. And so if you have the opportunity to serve, you can go to the City of Waco's website. They list the vacancies that are available. You can apply on the website. Serve on these boards. This is where real things, like real city government things, are happening on these boards. And so get involved and serve. So I've had an awesome time doing that.
I love that. And how have you seen the small business economy grow, especially with our more mom and pop shops or people who are not chains?
Right. Well, and so one of my concerns, especially with respect to small business, so my father was a small business owner all throughout my life. We had a small car lot in in Houston, little mechanic shop, and it got to the point to where multiple times a month, my dad was having to sleep up at the shop because somebody was breaking in and crime was just terrible. And so I love talking about public safety issues because it gives me an opportunity to talk about what I see as a real problem for developing small businesses, which is property crime. You can hope and pray all you want that businesses are going to move into a certain part of town. But if that part of town is not safe when the sun goes down, businesses are not going to want to relocate there.
That's true.
And so you can offer incentives and everything that you want, but unless it's safe, businesses aren't going to want to move in there. So number one, I think for the growth of small businesses is public safety. Streets have to be safe. Secondly, it goes back to, and I know I feel like I harp a lot on it, but it goes back to the emphasis and focus on downtown development. There are lots of other little economic centers throughout our city that would benefit greatly from some of the same tax incentives that people downtown have the opportunity to take part in. And so especially small businesses, they're out paying taxes too. You know, they want nice roads. They want safe streets. They want, going back to public safety, they want people to feel safe to come to their businesses. And so I think we have to find a way to I hate even saying it like that, but de-emphasize the downtown part of downtown development and make sure that these other little economic zones where you do see more mom and pop shops, make sure they're getting the benefit of all the great Waco stuff that's happening. And so again, I don't know, I think maybe the best way to do that is talk about maybe additional TIF zones. But I don't know. I think we could potentially offer some more tax advantages to small businesses that are outside of these TIF zones. So small business development is very personal to me because, like I said, I saw my dad go through it, and nobody works harder than a small business owner. I mean, my dad was the first one at the shop. He was the last one to leave. He's the last one to get paid. You know, if somebody doesn't, you know, pay a small business owner for their service, that comes right out of that owner's pocket. You know, that my dad had 2 small kids. Like, that affects Christmas. That affects abilities to buy groceries. So anything we can do to relieve the pressure on small business and get them to share in all the great things that are happening, I want to do that. Yeah. I absolutely want to do that.
That is so important. And I love that you touched on safety. What about walkability, public transportation,
Correct.
Any initiatives towards that?
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch there. Waco ISD is suffering from a huge budget deficit. One of the issues Waco ISD is having is finding bus drivers. What I think is, and again, we don't have to reinvent the wheel on a lot of this stuff. These are things that have been tried other places. You know, there's something to be said for maybe the city of Waco's public transportation network picking up some of that Waco ISD slack that they can't manage. If we can help Waco ISD dig out of that hole that they're in, that benefits everybody. And so with respect to public transportation, I'd love to see what the city can do to help Waco ISD in a situation like that. In a broader public safety perspective, you know, we're a countywide of over 250,000 people. Citywide, I think we're at close to 140,000, somewhere in that range. I've seen numbers that say on a daily basis there's maybe an additional 50,000 people that come into McLennan County and the city of Waco to work and things like that. At any given time, there are less than 20 police officers on duty in this city to cover the whole city of almost 200,000 people if you take into account all the people that are coming in. So you get 2 or 3 traffic accidents, a domestic disturbance call over in West Waco, you know, all of a sudden half your police force is tied up. And that's a problem in a city this big. So, you know, number one for me is recruiting and retaining good police officers. We have to have good police officers. I'd also like to find ways to encourage officers to actually live in the city of Waco. I don't think it should be a mandate or anything like that, but, you know, hey, what if you're a police officer for the city of Waco for 5 years, you live in the city, and you don't have to pay property tax. You don't have to pay city of Waco property tax. You know, let's encourage the police officers to live in the communities that they're actually policing. I think that's a big, can have a big impact on crime. But first and foremost, it's about beefing up the police force. I'm a former prosecutor. I am very crime and criminal justice focused. That's what I'm passionate about. And it's because I truly believe that safe streets are the fundamental key to a strong community. If you do not have safe streets, nothing else matters. If people are afraid to come outside of their house, if people are afraid to open a business, then it doesn't, again, like I said earlier, you can hope and pray all you want, but if the streets aren't safe, nothing's going to happen. And so, public safety wise, I think we have to beef up. We have to beef up our police department. And again, we're not the only city, you know, in the country that's having this problem. Everywhere's having problems finding police officers, and so we have to find ways to be creative. So I think, you know, public safety got to beef up the police department. So yeah,
so important.
It is.
Wow, and that's amazing. And again, just going back to emphasis on economic development on the smaller side, I feel like there has been an emphasis on the river district with all the new river walking included in all those new developments, along with tourism. How do you think that kind of affects it as a whole?
Well, you know, tourism is important. And we always want to put our best foot forward. And so that's why I say I don't want to de-emphasize things like the Riverwalk or those what we'll call the public-facing parts of Waco. I think it's important to have, like I said, a vibrant urban downtown area. But we have to make sure that the benefits of all of that are spread across our entire city. Yeah. And so that's my only concern. But absolutely, I've long thought that the river downtown is like this diamond in the rough, right? Like it's such a great opportunity for economic development. And I just want us to be strategic with it. Yeah. I want it to be things that the market demands. You know, I harp on it a lot, but this minor league baseball stadium downtown, we went through this a few years ago. We were going to build a stadium up off of Loop 340, and we went through a design process with the uniforms and what the mascot was going to, and the city in this area does not want that right now. Yeah. Let's not, instead of building that huge stadium, let's build some more affordable housing. Yeah. You know, infrastructure is important, and roads and bridges, that's infrastructure, but so is affordable housing. Yeah. People have to have a place to live, or you're not going to attract businesses here. Yeah. Building a 2,000 home development on prime Brazos Riverfront property with no commitment from the developer to bring in some affordable housing with homes that start at $300,000 and $400,000, that to me is contemptible at best. Everybody on council, everybody in this race for mayor acknowledges the shortage of affordable housing in this community. And to approve a development of that size and not have any commitment or promise from the developer in exchange for the tax money that he's going to get, to not have any commitment to provide some form of affordable housing is not great. Yeah. And so I'm disappointed in things like that. But you know, I don't think that means that we don't do nice things downtown. I'd love, and I mean, I know you would too, I'd love to see more restaurants downtown. I'd love to see more nightlife downtown. I think one of the problems that stands in the way of that is, again, city permitting and code enforcement. I have a friend that owns a restaurant in town. He's trying to open a little satellite coffee shop situation, and he's been waiting 6 months for inspections. And this is a small business owner. Yeah. You know, this isn't Starbucks. This is a small business owner. He wants to employ, 2, 3, 4 Wacoans and sell his product. And he can't do that because when he calls up the inspection and permitting office, it's 6 months before somebody can come and inspect the work that's been done in his little coffee shop. And that's a huge problem. Yeah. I don't know why we couldn't do some kind of pre-approval process. Yeah. A business owner in that situation is going to hire a certified electrician or a certified plumber. And so let's give them a temporary permit. And when we get to the inspection, we get to it. And if they did something wrong, they have to fix it. But to keep somebody from opening their business is a real problem. Government can do a lot of good. Yeah. But it can stand in the way of a lot of things too. Yeah. And I think hearing it from my dad growing up about needing government to get out of the way of small business, that's what I hear in my head is, government should step aside here. Let the business open. There's downsides if somebody does something on the cheap or cuts corners, they have to replace it. Anyway, that's another little tangent I get off on, but it's because I hate seeing small businesses run out of town by mega chains. I love Starbucks too, but I like our little independent coffee shops. Yeah. I love going to Pinewood. I love, I love that. I love Be Kind. Those are great little Waco places, and I don't want places like that to disappear. Yeah. And so whatever we can do to encourage more of that, that's what I want to do.
I love that. And I know you touched a little bit on it, but even like you did touch on points of like nightlife, downtown economics, small businesses. And there is that disconnect from downtown and the Baylor bubble itself to the rest of Waco. How do you think we can enhance that diversity, inclusion, accessibility?
Yeah, I think, first of all, with respect to Baylor, they're such a great partner, right? I mean, they're as much a part of our economic engine as anything else is in this city. And so they're a great partner. With respect to, I guess are you asking me about diversity within like city institutions or across city government?
Yeah, I would say across city government.
So I'm a believer in your government should look like you. And so I know that may seem odd as like a white guy sitting here saying that, but plenty of white guys in government.
Yeah.
But, I'm a gay man. And so as a member of the LGBTQ community, I want my voice to be heard too. And so when I say I think your government should look like you, I think that's important. Yeah. And that means going out and aggressively recruiting from amongst the Hispanic leaders in our community, the African American leaders in our community. We can't just sit here and hope that these great minority candidates come and apply here. We have to, let's go sell the city of Waco. Let's go, and who better to talk to than groups like the Hispanic Leaders Network. They held a great forum the other night at KWTX. So many great opportunities to bring that community into city government. Same thing is true with the Waco NAACP. Strong organization. We should absolutely be using them as a resource to recruit into city government, so that when people look at their city government, their representatives, they see themselves. It restores faith in the institutions of government. It at least gives you the hope that maybe somebody that thinks a little bit like you is at least has a voice in the process. I think we can do better. I think it can't just be your street level workers, right? It has to be leadership positions. It has to be throughout all levels of city government. And so I'm a big proponent of, as I put it, aggressively recruiting from those populations that are underrepresented. And so I'd work really, really hard. And like I said, we've got all these great resources right here in town. And so I'd hope to bring all of that to bear across city government. So, yeah.
I love that. And that's so important just for representation overall. It's API appreciation with the Asian Leadership Network. And, we do have the African American Chamber. What do you think is some ways that people can get involved with that, or we can bring more awareness to those groups so people at whole know that as well?
Right. I think it's forums like this. It's people like us talking about it, letting people know that organizations like that exist. But I will also say it doesn't even have to be that level of organization. In this mayoral campaign, I've been going to the neighborhood association meetings. And I'll tell you, a lot of times at these neighborhood association meetings, it's myself, one other candidate, Councilman Holmes, and it'll be the board of the neighborhood association. And that'll be it. It'll be 6 of us there. And so that's a problem to me. And so forget like getting involved in organizations like HLN or the NAACP or API. We can't even get people to show up at their neighborhood.
Their own neighborhood association.
Right. And so I saw it a lot as a prosecutor in jury duty. People find every way under
to
the
get
sun
out of jury
to get out of jury duty.
Yeah.
But boy, do they love to complain about the verdicts that come out of the courthouse. Mm-hmm. Well, if you don't like, that's what I would tell jury members. if you don't like the verdict that's coming, if you think somebody didn't get enough time or, got too much time, then show up for jury duty. Be that voice in the jury room. Sitting at home and watching it on the news isn't going to do it. So show up and be the change, as they say. And so I think we have to work hard to bring all these organizations and groups together so that, as we kind of talked about at the beginning, so that we can highlight the diversity of this city.
Yeah.
It is an incredibly diverse place, and that's what I would like to show off about us, because I think it's something that people don't expect. And
I love that.
They get here and they see what a rich, diverse population we have, and I think it surprises them. So
I love that.
I'd love to show that off to everybody.
One of the questions I always ask on the show is, what would you like to see more of in Waco?
What would I like to see more of in Waco?
And I keep it as broad as possible. That's for you to decide.
I can tell you I don't want to see any more car washes.
I was literally talking about that the other day. Thank you for bringing that up. I almost asked about it. If I see another one.
I don't want to see any more car washes. Again, to get back to politics, especially when we're talking about
water conservation
and
telling me not to mow my yard at 5 p.m.
Right, correct. And again, going back to building a 2,000 home development, and are there any water restrictions or restrictions on what type of lawns anyway, what would I like to see more of? What I'd really love to see more of, and maybe it sounds like the cheesy politician in me, is community engagement from our citizens. We can have great things here, but if the people that live here don't take part in them, we can have all the bars in the world open up on Austin Avenue, but if people don't come out, if you don't go out to the restaurants and eat out, then we're not going to get those types of things. And so at a very basic level, get involved in your community. Go to your neighborhood association meetings. Volunteer to be on these boards for the city of Waco. McLennan County also has a bunch of different ways that you can serve at the county government level. So what I would like to see is more people involved and engaged with their own government. Early voting started for this race on Monday. I'm bad. I didn't look at the numbers last night, but I looked at the numbers Tuesday night. After 2 days of voting in a city of, 140,000 people, less than 2,000 people had voted. These races, these municipal races, the Waco ISD school board race, the appraisal district race, the mayor's race, these races are going to be decided by handfuls of votes. Yeah. And it's going to be close. And so you can start your community engagement by going to vote, right? Go vote. You can vote at the Doris Miller YMCA. You can vote at the library that's over in the Target parking lot. You can vote at the Robinson Community Center. You can vote downtown at the Records Building. I think there's one I'm forgetting. Hewitt. You can vote at Hewitt City Hall. There's all kinds of places to vote early. It goes through next Tuesday, and then the election is on Star Wars Day, May the 4th.
May the 4th be with
right.
you.
And so that's how I've told people. Remember, May the 4th be with you. So vote. Start right there. It's the easiest thing to do. If you don't know whether or not you're registered to vote, go down, ask them. They'll tell you if you can vote or not. Worst case scenario, they say no, register, come back and vote in our next election. But vote. Don't just sit there and hope that things are going to get better.
Yeah.
Go out and make that change. Take that first step and engage with your community.
I love that mission, and I love that statement so much. That's really the basis of why we're here,
right,
is make sure people vote.
Absolutely. And it's easy for, I think, people like us who who seek out ways to engage in the community, who take steps like this, whether it's running for office or being involved in all the ways that you are, we forget that not everybody is like us, I think, in some respects. And so we have to be the ones that are out there saying, no, get involved. Drag people kicking and screaming to neighborhood association meetings. And, you know, if you're a member of the LGBTQ community, Waco Pride does some great stuff. I'll admit I'm not the best about taking advantage of those opportunities either, but there's so many opportunities throughout the city for you to get involved. So please do, and start with voting.
I love that. One of the other questions I love to ask our guests on the show is, why do you think it's important for you to be in Waco right now?
Well, I think it's important for me to be in Waco right now because we are, I think, at a fork in the road. We are either going to continue this unbridled, build at all costs, economic development downtown that's going to run out everybody from East Waco, that's going to send property values skyrocketing in South Waco such that people can't afford their property taxes. So it's important that I'm here right now so that I can make sure that we don't go that direction, that we go in a direction that is about sensible and strategic economic development downtown, that focuses on building out our infrastructure, not for the next 5 or 10 years, but for the next 50 years. We have to be thinking about wastewater treatment, about drinking water, public utilities for the next 50 years. So it's important that I'm here right now because that's what I want to focus on. I want to make sure our streets are safe. I want people to feel like that they can come out and sit on their porch at night, whether they, live off of Morrow or whether they live off of Baylor Camp Road or wherever they live. I want people to feel like they can come out and re-engage in their neighborhoods and get to know your neighbors again instead of staying inside. So it's important that I'm here right now because that's my vision for the city going forward.
I love that. And one of our mottos that we say over and over on the show, if you've listened, is be the Waco you want to see.
Right.
And I think that embodies that mission as well. Absolutely.
I mean, it's the very reason why I think a lot of people get involved in public service because some of us get so fed up with seeing the way things are that we say we have to go be that change. So yeah, absolutely. It's the best motivator. It's the best way to really feel like you're making a difference in the world. And that can be very small, or you can have a very large impact. But it's going out and being involved, and that's so incredibly important.
I love that. And I know you mentioned some of the other organizations you work with, and it wouldn't be a No Waco episode if I didn't give you a shout out section.
Sure.
So this is your opportunity to thank the community and thank anybody that's helped you along this journey.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, my current boss, Vic Fazell, over at the law offices of Vic Fazell, he has been fantastic. He has endured all of my political races and let me put a sign out front and understands that, sometimes on a Thursday afternoon I have to go record a podcast episode and that's okay as long as my other work is done. So he's been such an incredible support system for me here locally. All of my family is in Houston, so to have somebody like him has been really awesome, and he's a phenomenal lawyer to learn from as well. But also, the people that I've gotten to know through service, through service on the Historic Landmark Commission or the Animal Welfare Board, like I'd mentioned earlier, getting in a room with people who are passionate about the same subject, all of those people have served to motivate me, to inspire me to continue to serve. And so I thank all those people that I've served with on all those boards and commissions. Currently, I'm vice president of the Bar Association here in McLennan County. That's the lawyers, not the drinking bar, but like the Lawyers Association.
The LSAT people.
Right. Yeah, so I'm vice president of that organization, and that organization does great things in our community. And there's a group of young lawyers that work with us, and they're inspiring to see, so it's all these people that inspire you to keep going. I just stepped down as the president of the McLennan County Criminal Defense Lawyers Association. You want to talk about people who are passionate about service to their community. These are criminal defense lawyers who don't get paid the way they should get paid for representing people who can't afford to hire their own lawyer. These people get up every day and have to listen to clients call them terrible, terrible names, accuse them of unethical conduct. But those lawyers go into court and fight for those people's rights. And again, getting to be part of that community and seeing those people get passionate about that work, it all inspires me. It all serves to lift me up and motivate me to take my skills that I have and try and make everybody's life better. Try and do what I can for the community. So in that regard, I'm just so grateful to all those people that I've had an opportunity to work with and the way they've impacted my life.
I love that. And of course, last but not least, give us where we can find you, find more information about you.
Sure.
All the things.
So there is aubreyformayor.com right now. And I'm on Facebook at Aubrey for Mayor. There's ways to contact me on there. My cell phone number is on there. You can call me and leave me a voicemail, send me a text message. We're getting close to Election Day. It's May 4th, but I have plenty of yard signs. If anybody wants a yard sign, I deliver. So reach out to me that way. If you just have a question, if you want to know where I stand on a particular issue, I'm available. One of the main things we hear, all the candidates have heard, is there's a real communication issue between the citizens and city government. And I want to stop that. There should be clear lines of communication between you and the people that represent you. I'm told long ago there was a standing committee that reported to city council, but that was basically a forum for people to go and air their grievances, essentially. And then that committee would turn around and report back to city council. I'm going to start that back up, or something very similar, because it's not convenient to try and get to city council every second Tuesday of a month that, has odd numbered days, and you get to speak for 3 minutes if you signed the card ahead of time. Like, come on. Yeah. I mean, that's ridiculous. And so communication is really key to me. And so I want to get us back talking to one another. So go to my website. My email address is there. My phone number is there. Reach out to me on Facebook. Get a yard sign. And most importantly, go vote. Vote, vote, vote.
Amazing. And it's your soapbox time. If there's anything else you want to share with our listeners today? I'll say again, just at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I'm so passionate about criminal justice issues. I cannot emphasize this enough. I want to be the safer streets candidate. That's what I want people to understand about me, that I will wake up and go to bed every day thinking about ways to make our streets safer. That is to me paramount before anything else, and everything else flows from those safer streets. So again, we've got to beef up our police department. We've got to find ways to recruit and retain police officers. We've got to get better with our response times. We've got to find ways to address the mental health crisis and divert those people away from the criminal justice system. I saw that, our criminal justice system is not built to deal with the mental health crisis that is going on in this country. And I saw that firsthand as a prosecutor. There are ways at the city that we can work to address the mental health crisis in our city amongst our citizens. Homelessness is not going to get better anytime soon. It's only going to get worse. We have to recognize the connection and correlation between homelessness and the mental health crisis. The ability to have a job is much more difficult if you are suffering from an acute mental health issue.
We have to be able to identify people, make sure they're getting the treatment that they need. And so that's why I said the city can be such a force for good. City government can be such a force for good if our priorities are correct. And our priorities should not be a downtown baseball stadium. It should be affordable housing. It should be expanding our health clinics. 1.8 million people are about to be affected by a change in the Medicaid rules. It's going to force some people off of the Medicaid rolls. Those are people that are going to need health care. Those are people that live in our city. That's the state of Texas. 1.8 million people in the state of Texas are going to see a change in their Medicaid coverage. Some of those people live here in Waco. We have to be able to provide health care for those people, or at least be ready to absorb the impact that that's going to have on our economy. So, my mission is to use the city and use city government for good, things like that. Build out our infrastructure, increase our police force, and develop strategically. So that's what I'd like to do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and being here today. Really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yay.
Thanks.
And go vote.
Yes, absolutely. Vote, 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 vote.
Vote. Yay.
Very nice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Find us everywhere on all social media platforms, KNOW_Waco. Check us out at roguemedianetwork.com, and we're on YouTube under Rogue Media Network. Check out nowaco.com.
This has been a Rogue Media Network